In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you my 5 key steps on understanding business growth strategy. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help ambitious IT and tech business owners increase their sales, profit and productivity. So welcome to the show. My name's Ian Luckett, and today I'm going to be explaining and helping you guys out a little bit more in the tech space, all about this whole business growth strategy thing. How does it all kind of work? What are the key elements? And I've actually boiled it down into 5 key parts that once you master and once you understand, you'll start to get a little bit more confident about what you're doing. You'll get a little bit more confident about some of the processes that you need to go through and some of the systems and the way this all works. Now, look, this isn't hard work. This isn't meant to sound like it's hard work. This is the same as any kind of other project. It's the same as anything that you're trying to achieve. You need a plan. You need a plan that's connected together. You need a plan that makes sense to you. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to operate. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to delegate. You're not going to be able to pass down to your teams. And more importantly, as you know, kind of IT, MSP, and tech businesses, if you can't delegate the technical tasks onto other people, then you're not going to get the time to grow your business. You're not going to get the time to work on your business in a strategic manner. And that's exactly what this show is all about. So since my mid-20s, I've been managing people, leading people, helping teams, helping businesses grow. And it kind of wasn't really designed to be like that, but it ended up being like that because I realized that I was actually a kind of a really methodical kind of guy and a real, I need to have things in order. I need to have things in place. And it's very much like the clients that I work with in the tech space, where you are very much methodology. This needs to work. I need to turn this machine on. The system needs to work. The software needs to compute. Everything needs to kind of organize in its own fashion. And, you get creative people who are kind of like artists, and you get, systematic people kind of like yourself. And you get other people who are really big, deep thinkers, and they kind of go into the real deep data. And this is why we always kind of do a disc profile to understand a little bit more about how we tick. Now, business strategy, when you understand it and when you know what the individual blocks are, it makes it sense. I guess the first thing to understand is that, if you're going to fly a plane, you're going to drive a car, you're going to go for a walk, whatever you're going to do, you need to understand where your destination is. And this is why it's really important that we understand what you want to do with your business, where you want to take it, how much you want to grow it, what you want to do at the end of the day. Once we've decided that, that's like we've set our end destination on our sat nav. And once our sat nav's set, guess what? We're going to focus towards getting to that sat nav. Now, we've developed a program called the People Performance Program, and it's originally for larger organizations. And there's 4 key elements to the People Performance Program. The reason that this came about was that the more and more clients that I was working with, it was becoming apparent that the people are the main engine of the organization. If we don't have them aligned, if we don't have them all on the same focus, all on the same direction where we want to go, we don't support them, help coach and nurture them, then it's going to end up in being an organized chaos, really. So the 4 things that we've got, number 1 is all about having strong leadership and understanding the leadership in the organization, whether it be 1, 2, 15, 20, a whole board of people, whatever it might be. Having strong, consistent leadership is the first key element. The second thing is about having high quality people. Now, I always used to gauge when I've been, going through leading and developing teams is how many people would I employ if it was my own money. Now, as a tech business owner, it is your own money. So, let's think of it exactly like that. But what we want to do is we want other people in your organization as well to understand the kind of message of, if it was your own money, how many of these people would you employ? Now, when you're in a larger corporate, obviously you've got a lot more people in space, and you've always been sitting in an office and someone's going, oh, that one person's rubbish, or she doesn't do this, or he doesn't do that, or whatever it might be. But why are those people in your organization if it was your money? If you wouldn't be employing people that are no good and that you're not supporting, and they're not supporting you, and they're not working hard for you. So quality people, Les Brown said it years and years ago, OQP, only quality people. The next step is about having efficient systems and processes. So let's just run through what we've just said. We've got strong leadership. We know where we're going. We've got great people. They're helping us out and they're helping us develop and work where we go. Now, what are they actually going to do? They've got to operate, whether you like it or not, whether it sounds like hard work or not. You've got to operate the systems and the processes in your organization. When you start out, you do everything yourself, and then you employ one person, two people, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it might be. But they've all got to operate the same process. They've all got to operate and scale in the same way, in the same silo, in the same accountability. So that's the third step, is all about, efficient systems and processes. And the last one, really, fourth, is all about robust reporting. Now, this isn't the 5-step strategy. I'm just explaining to you a little bit about how we organize this thoughts in people's head. It's about robust reporting. So got strong leadership, we've got great people, we've got brilliant processes, and we're going to report on them so we know that they work. If you get all those 4 things in order, then what's going to end up happening is you're going to then get more control. You're going to get more confident. You're going to get more confident to delegate to your teams and help them understand what it is that you want, what we're trying to achieve, and where the business is going. So step 1 in this podcast is all about understanding that strategy is a methodology. And there's kind of 3 things that we need to make sure that we're really clear on here. The first one is the inward-looking values of the organisation. Now, you might be able to see behind me here a picture, which is it's actually a flip chart pad from a presentation I went to on my last day working in corporate back in 2016, I think it was, 2017, from a guy called Dr. John DiMartini, and he is a human behaviour specialist. And it was a really interesting talk, but this basically explains a little bit about, it explains an awful lot about how people do things in relation to their values. So, my company values are about continuous improvement, mentoring from experience, always trying to do our best, always open, trust, and honest, and all of those types of good things. And it's really important that you get your values out, and they're inward looking. They are the values of the things in an organization that you know that you do from inside. I had a client recently, did some work with a client, some consultancy work with a guy actually in Australia. And one of the things he said to me, he said, your values on your website match ours. So I kind of knew that we were always going to get on. Now, the reason that values are really important, and understanding your values, and I'm going to be doing another podcast shortly about how to identify and get your values in your organization, is that it kind of lets people know who you are, how you're going to behave, what sort of ethics you have, and a little bit about the kind of the personality. When you've got your values really clear, you then hire by them. So you then, get people to demonstrate where they actually, behave at the values and have demonstrated the values. You can fire by them if people don't actually behave by the values and they don't, align with the way that you want them to be. And also you can then find clients around them as well. So, if you want clients that are, a little bit daring and a little bit open to a bit of innovation and things like that, then they'll align with those values. So the first part on that is about values. The second one is about the vision. And this should always be outward looking. What is it that you're trying to achieve with the vision? And it's always important as a business owner to understand, do you want to sell the business at the end of the day? How long do you want to keep this game going for? How long do you want to, do you want to grow it and then stay as a sleeping partner, or just move back and bring in another MD or a CEO or someone like that? And it's really clear that you need to understand what it is and have that clarity around that vision and what you're trying to achieve and where you're trying to take the business. When you then have that vision and you share that with your people, they know where you're going. They know that they're not just coming in and doing IT support, or they're not just coming in and we're just going to develop another database or anything like that. They have a clear purpose. And then the purpose comes out then in the mission statement. So we've got the values, we've got the vision statement, and then we've got the mission statement. And the mission statement is about your purpose. It's about what you're trying to achieve. We're trying to help businesses, overcome deficiencies effectively, whatever it might be, but complications in their business by automating their software or simplifying their systems. Or we want to help these types of organizations with their tech support so that they've always got a robust business running at the end of it. And having your mission is really important. Having a strategy is great. Having a way of doing things is great. And this 5 key areas that we're going to go through here are going to help you kind of bring that together. So that's the methodology and the understanding that it's kind of set out by where we're setting that first compass. Now, step 2 is about having a growth mindset and having a kind of can-do attitude, and we can do this, and watching your language and everything like that. Now, I heard a horrific stat over the weekend. I was watching a Facebook Live with one of my coaches, and he said that 96% of people actually live in fear. And at the time of recording, which is August 2020, we are probably still right in the middle of this blooming COVID thing. And a lot of people are living in fear. A lot of people are picking up their phones. They're looking at social media. They're getting panicky about things that are going on. They're watching what other people are doing. They're looking at the human behavior side of things. Now, I can give you the best strategy in the world, but if you don't believe it's going to work, and if you don't have that mindset to think, how can we make this happen, and have a positive mindset with a strategic kind of outlook, then you're kind of going to fall flat at the face. So if you think that you could just pick up a business growth strategy and run with it, implement it and run with it, and still be a bit negative and have a go at your people and don't involve them in the in employee engagement activities and don't really set your compass, guess what? It's not going to work. It's absolutely not going to work. So it's really important that we have that growth mindset. We learn and develop and build that confidence in our minds so that we know that that although we might make a bit of a howling decision on some occasions, but most of the time, we need to make sure that we've got that strong section. And I guess some of the key things here are around understanding fear of failure. Fear of failure is a massive thing for any businesses. I'm open and honest, so I don't care admitting that, there are times when I'm going, is this the right thing to do? Should we be doing this or should we not be doing that? And that's why I've got my own amazing peer group, not the mastermind peer group for the tech guys, but my own peer group that I can reach out to and I can say, hey guys, how do we do this? And they go, nope, this is what we do. When you leave school, you go to school to learn. When you leave school, how do you keep learning apart from university? And you're learning about the school of life. They keep talking about the school of life. And the school of life really does work mainly around the fact that you're going to learn from some of your mistakes. You're going to learn from your successes. But more importantly, you're actually going to learn from others. So being part of a peer group, being part of a mastermind group is really important because it helps you build that confidence. It helps you see what other people are doing. Test the water. Remember the first time you drove a bike, you're either your brother, your sister, or someone in your street was also riding a bike and you're thinking, I can do that. But at the time, you couldn't even pedal the damn thing. You kept falling off, banging your knees. Having a supportive network is really important. So comparing yourself with others is a bit of an issue right now. Everyone's looking at other IT support companies. Oh, look what they're doing here. Look what they're doing there. Pretty much most of the clients, 99% of the clients who come to me who want more success, who want growth scaling strategies, aren't niching. They need to niche. They need to be specific. They need to be somewhere different. And if they don't believe that that's the right thing to do, then guess what? They're not going to take action on it, and then they're not going to get the results. So comparing yourself with others, if you do compare yourself with others, whether you be in a software, tech support, or other tech business, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up doing the same as them, getting the same outcomes as them, and ended up getting beaten up on price. And this is what I call the price comparison, website scenario. So just a quick story. Many of you heard this before, but I met up with the wonderful Charlie Mullins from Pimlico Plumbers a few years ago when we were doing a podcast. He decided he wanted to plumb for the stars and he wanted to plumb for the rich. Well, guess what? He doesn't charge you £60 an hour fixing Mrs. Miggins's taps. He's out there. He's got a fully high level business, charging high cost, and he is earning a great deal of money for it, regardless of any of his kind of viewpoints or anything like that. But that's what he decided to do. Charlie decided to go out there and to run that business, and he had a good just cause. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. His vision was right. His values are clear. His mission was clear, and he kind of went off on the route there. So the main thing here under the mindset is that you have belief that it's going to work. You have a plan of action. You kind of have a support network and a peer support group that are going to help and guide you as you're going through your little mini meltdowns, as it would be. And you just keep learning. So understand how your mindset is really probably one of the most important parts. So that was point 2. Point 3 is all about employee engagement and the culture that you set. So at the age of 26, I was managing about 65 people. We were managing what is now the Virgin Media National Network out of Luton. It was kind of something that wasn't designed to in my life, but we ended up doing it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it was all about the people. It's all about the engagement of the people. It was all about the culture. And the one thing that was really important that we were taught from NTL, as they were known at the time, was about leading people rather than managing people. If you're leading people, then they want to follow you. They want to come with you. They want to support you. They want to, make you win. They want to see you, you be the guy that's working really well. If you're managing people, what kind of ends up happening in that kind of concept is you've got a process, you've got a person do the process. That's it. Thanks very much. It's very cold. It's very clinical. It's not very engaging. It's not really a great way to get your business moving. Now, I remember in my last job, we did a lot of work around employee engagement and culture. And the first slide they showed up was the one about the top performing FTSE companies all had really, really high employee engagement scores. And that wasn't by accident, They did it deliberately because they knew that if the employees worked harder, they'd go over and above, they'd do a great customer service, and they're going to help, their clients grow, and they're going to help the business grow. And it actually just become an easier place to work. So when you've got your employees, make sure they understand the company values, make sure that they understand, where they fit in and how they work. One of the really important things here is about building trust. And when you've got trust with your employees, then that means that you can kind of leave them alone. They can get on with their work. They feel a bit more empowered, and they feel that they can do you a great job without you peering over their neck and breathing down their neck all the time. I suppose from a tech point of view, the thing that's really important about trust is making sure that you have an escalation route so that they know where the boundaries are. So if there's anything, I'm going to need to talk to you about this. And particularly this is important when you are, working remote teams. We've done did a podcast recently on remote teams. So I'll put the link to that in the show notes, and you can kind of link yourself back to that one. But that was a great one about how to help them understand how to work kind of remotely and how you can get the best out of your team as well. Motivation is really important, but motivation kind of comes from within. I remember years ago going on a How to Motivate Your Team course. How to motivate your team is give them things that excites them, aligns with their values, and you empower them to make decisions so that they actually enjoy coming to work. Simple as that, really. That was about a 30-second course there on how to motivate your teams. Clear accountability, clear purpose, clear values, clear, outcomes on what they're doing. And then there's always a reward at the end of it, for saying what a great job you've done. So it's kind of not really any more complicated than that, but everybody must be in the right seat. If you've got people who are in a tech support role, for example, who are struggling with it, then you need to look at either helping them or moving them out of that role or moving them out of the organization potentially. And, the values are important here because people are loyal to your values. You can also measure people by your values. So you could say to them, who today has dealt with, any customer in a professional and efficient manner, or, going outside the box, or whatever your kind of values might be in your organization. Is how you do things and kind of also what you expect from other people. Helps you praise people, but it also helps you to have that difficult conversation when things don't quite go right. The next one is about, the fourth section is about having a planning system. So whether you use a spreadsheet, whether you use one of these online systems, whether you just use a whiteboard or flip chart, whatever it might be, by using the mission and the values and the vision of the organization and what you want to do in the next 3 to 5 years, what you have to do is you set your compass for your 5 years where you're going, and then you work it back 3 years, then you work it back 1 year, then you work it back 90-day goals, then you work it back monthly goals, then you work it back 1 week, and kind of almost to the point of the daily goals. This is essentially a planning system. And what we must make sure here is that you've got accountability all the way through. We're going to talk about measurement in a moment, but we've got to make sure that you've got accountability all the way through. People are clear on how we're going to work. What meeting structures do you have? What communication structures do you have? And what I mean by that is, how are you communicating with the other departments? How are you letting them know what's going on? Are you having high quality handover meetings when you're handing over from one part of the business to the next? And kind of how is that working? So one thing that's important is we understand how each department is connected. Where most businesses normally go wrong and where things kind of fall through the cracks is when you don't have a really great handover. And what I mean by this is that if you're onboarding a client, for example, and you've gone from the sales process into the tech operations process, how are you handing over? How do you make sure that you've got things lined up? And this all sits as part of the plan. So whether you've got connected meetings, whether you've got connected reporting, whether you've got vision boards, whiteboards all around the offices, whatever it needs to be, it's all about looking at what's your 3-year plan, what's your 1-year plan, what's your 90-day goals, making sure this is really clear, because then what you do is you then build all of that into your leadership appraisal system so that everybody has a goal, an outcome, an objective, something that they should be doing that's going to help them to achieve those goals for the business. And finally, step 5 is all about measuring. What gets measured gets done, and what gets measured and reported gets done even quicker and to a higher quality. So the first thing is around KPI scores. Now, how are you measuring what you're doing? One of my clients in the mastermind about 6 months ago said, wanted a little bit more understanding on how he was progressing. So we developed a scoring mechanism. So we now score each mastermind client when they come in, and we give them a score out of 100. And then as they go through the months, it helps them to understand what they need to focus on, what their key priorities are. And then we move it forwards, and then they can actually physically see the score. Now, this is no different than in a business. What are your KPIs? How many clients are you looking to have in any one given month? How many calls do you need to have? How much outreach do you need to do to get that? Where are you going to go and get that? And start measuring your business from a KPI, key performance indicator. Yet review regularly. I know businesses that have daily meetings, not necessarily about performance. It's normally about the tasks that leads to the performance, but at least have a weekly meeting with your team and a monthly catch up where you spend time focused, phones off, computers off, and you're talking about working on the business rather than working in the business in a strategic manner. Don't be afraid to kind of pivot. Don't be afraid to kind of change and learn a little bit. Always remember, go back to your vision and your values and understand what your just cause is and what you're trying to achieve. And if you need to change some of the products and services and solutions, then do so. One of the old adages that I always remember is to make decisions quickly and changes slowly. So if you're going to decide to do something different, then decide you're going to do it, put a plan together, and then just make sure that you've actually got your, you change things gently, you change things kind of slowly as they move forward. And keep an eye on your competitors as well. But keep an eye on your competitors to see what they're doing. It might not necessarily be working. If you're looking at your competitors' websites, you might be able to do some research on their websites on what they're doing, but understand that the facade of the website is not necessarily what's going on in the background. There's various ways that you can kind of understand how they're actually doing without actually, going into too much detail. As I mentioned before, make sure everybody's got their individual measures and their team's got their measures. And as you've got your leadership team and senior managers, make sure that that's all cascaded down as well. And, as I said before, find out what's working in other businesses. Join a peer group. We have the IT Experts Mastermind here, which helps IT and tech business owners to kind of scale their businesses and to learn from others what's working. But you can join any group and understand, in a relevant team, what is working and what isn't working. So that's the kind of 5 steps. We've got number 1 was all about strategy and methodology. Number 2 was about the growth mindset. 3 is about having employee engagement and culture. 4 is planning systems, and number 5 is about measurement. So look, when we're going through change that we're going through at the moment, it's really important that we have a plan. It's really critical that we stay on that plan. And if things ever need to change, if things ever need to move, then we've got the plan that we can go back to. We've got the strategy, we've got the vision, we've got the values, we've got everything kind of all in place. Everybody's bought into it with employee engagement, and it helps you work. So I hope you really enjoyed the show. If there's anything in this show that sparks a little bit of interest and you want to get in contact just to find out how it works a little bit more, then we have got other podcasts, or you can either hit me up on LinkedIn or visit the website and connect over on there. So you're going to enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to catch up with you soon. Take care now. All the best. So thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, then please remember to subscribe, rate and review. I'd really appreciate that. And also check the show notes out for all the latest developments at the IT Experts Growth Academy. If we haven't already, then let's connect on LinkedIn, YouTube and over at our website at innovatettosuccess.com. Until next time, you look after yourself and I'll catch up with you soon.